Jaya Radha Madhavam Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhavam Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Gopijana Vallabha Shivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Shivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Shivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Om Ajnanatimandasya Chanam Sanasaka Sakshan Militam Yena Tasmai Shigove Namo Chittataya Manopistam Staptam Yena Bhutam Ramapkatamyam Dadatu Smam Vandeham Shiv Shivda Padkamnam Shigam Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Jagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sapaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jyatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Vishavan Sitadevi Pranamama Vipi Vaka Kalpta Vishanti Pansime Vishan Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Bhakti Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachane Nirvishesha Srivati Pachkachani Pachane Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, we are in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We heard in the beginning of this 4th chapter the history of the Bhagavad Gita in the first 3 verses and the qualities for understanding transcendental knowledge. And then Krishna spoke about himself, about his transcendental appearance, his body, his transcendental body, and he informed us about his mission, why the sons in incarnations, that and everyone who knows Krishna, that he comes to liberation and does not take birth again, Krishna saying. But that is a purification process which is described in 410. Yeyatamam Fitarag Bayakata Manmahamam Pashta Bhopakana Tapasa Buddhatmapam Agata. Many great sages have become free from attachment, anger, and fear by knowledge of Krishna, by performing devotional service, by getting knowledge to Krishna. They became purified, and by that they went back to the spiritual world. But not everyone takes immediately to that process of pure devotional service. No, Krishna says, many are on my path, he said. They are all on my path, and I reciprocate accordingly. That Krishna does not say they get all the same results. No, most of the practitioners of spiritual life, they are on the practice of lower levels of sacrifice or lower levels of spiritual practice, like the jnanis who are trying to get Brahman. Their goal is Brahman. That's their goal, it's not Krishna. And the yogis, they want mystic powers. And they want to realize the super soul. But still, they remain in this material world, or they can temporarily go to the Brahmacharya, but they have to come back because they don't have entrance to the spiritual world. You must come to devotional service. So therefore, Krishna has described the intricacies of karma. Well, he gave a hint, difficult to understand. He says that three kinds of karma: subkarma, vikarma, and akarma. And we explained them that karma and vikarma keeps us in this material world. We have to perform akarma, and that depends on our desire. But we cannot come immediately to that platform of devotional service. Usually that doesn't happen. So there are various sacrifices to make advancement to that goal. And these sacrifices are explained in this section here. And these sacrifices, Krishna says, all these sacrifices lead gradually to knowledge and liberation, and ultimate to pure devotional service. But then Krishna says afterwards, instead of doing all these sacrifices, accept the spiritual master and learn from him pure devotional service directly. And then you will get on the boat of transcendental knowledge. And then all your sinful activities from the past, all the reactions will be burned. So that's more or less the summary of this chapter. So we continue with text 25. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 25. Daivam eva parechahyam yogina parupasate. Pamachna uparechahyam shakyanaiv panchuvati. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of Supreme Brahman. So different sacrifice, some the demigods and some to the Supreme Brahman. So in the purport, as described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Krishna consciousness is also called a perfect yogi or first-class mystic, but there are others also who perform similar sacrifices in worship of demigods, and still others will worship the Supreme Brahman or his impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. A little further, all different varieties of sacrifice can be placed into two primary divisions. So that's important to remember. Two divisions: sacrifice of worldly possessions and sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Those who are in Krishna consciousness sacrifice all material possessions for the satisfaction of the Supreme, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material possessions to satisfy demigods as Indra, the sun god, and others who are impersonal sacrifice their identity by merging into the existence of the impersonal Brahman. So they have all a motive. The devotees have no motive, just to please Krishna. I offer all my possessions to please Krishna. But the demigod worshippers, they want sense gratification in return. And the worshippers of the impersonal Brahman, they want to merge with Brahman, that merge into the existence of Brahman. At the end, the Krishna conscious person like Arjuna, however, sacrificed everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. And as all his material possessions, as well as his own self, everything is sacrificed for Krishna. This is the first-class yogi, but he does not lose his individual existence. So now the introduction of this section. So this is this verse, what I read in the purport. Exactly, that's on the screen. So then there are various sacrifices. Now the next three sacrifices that the brahmacharis, under the care of a bona fide spiritual master, control the mind by abstaining from sense gratification. That's one sacrifice in the Vedic system. Then practicing control of the mind to detach the senses from sense gratification and engage all areas of life in searching for self-realization. That's the yogis. And then Dravya Maya Jahya. There are persons who are sacrificing their possessions in the form of various kinds of charities. So you have charities, the distribution of prasad. Now that's 29. So we have these three. We will quickly go over them. Shota Indrindiyanyanye Samyamak Nisijuvati Saptadim Visyam Nanya Indra Chakneshu Juvati. Some, the unadulterated brahmachari, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. And others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the object of the senses in the fire of the senses. So the householder uses the senses in Krishna's service. Very practical. The brahmacharis control the senses in the mind. It's in the purport. It's the fourth line or something. There you find the brahmacharis or students under the care of a bona fide spiritual master control the mind by abstaining from sense gratification. Brahmachari hears only words concerning Krishna consciousness, hearing the basic principle for understanding. And therefore the pure brahmachari engages in Hare Namanam Kirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. He restrains himself from the vibration of material sound, and his hearing is engaged in transcendental sound vibration of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Similarly, the householders who have some license for sense gratification perform such acts with great restraint. Sex life, intoxication, and meat eating are general tendencies of human society, but a regulated householder does not indulge in unrestricted sex life and other sense gratification. Marriage on the principles of religious life is therefore current in the civilized human society because that is the way for restricted sex life. This restricted unattached sex life is also a kind of jahya, because the restricted householder sacrifices his general tendency to our sense gratification for higher transcendental life. So this is a difference between the brahmacharis and the householders. The householders, Krishna will say in the 16th chapter, and his duty is Danam, Damas, Sajahyaja. He gives charity. And he has to control his mind and senses. This is tapasya. And he does jahya, sacrificing, chanting Hare Krishna. The brahmacharis, they must control the mind by abstaining of sense gratification. We go to the 16th chapter. The first verse. There is mentioned Spadhyayas. That's another sacrifice of the brahmacharis. The brahmacharis must study the scriptures under the care of the spiritual master. Study the scriptures, control the mind, abstain from sense gratification. That abstains from sense gratification. In the Vedic system, the brahmachari should only eat if invited by the spiritual master. Otherwise, he should fast. Maybe strict regulation of tapasya, brahmachari. So we should be austere as brahmacharis and control the senses, not overindulge in big cakes and a lot of sugar. You cannot control your senses in that way. But we must restrict that and be balanced. 27. Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapre atma samyama chakya yojakya chuvati dhyana dipite. Others were interested in achieving self-realization to control the mind and senses, offer the functions of the senses and the life breath as oblations in the fire of the controlled mind. So what is mentioned here is the Patanjali system of yoga. That is what Prabhupada said. That's what refers to here. He writes further in the purport, one sentence. The Patanjali system of yoga instructs one how to control the functions of the air, of the body's air in a technical matter. So, and ultimately, all the functions of the air within become favorable for purifying the soul of material attachment. It's this pranayama and so on. It's not an easy practice. That only if you can do it. 28. That Trafya chakyasta projachya, yogo chakyasta tapare, svatyaya chana chakyasa, chaya samsita vata. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrifices their possessions, others by performing austerity, the practicing of yoga, of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. Yeah. So Prabhupada writes in the these sacrifices may be fitted into various divisions. There are persons who are sacrificing their possessions in the form of various kinds of charities. Then all the Prabhupada refers to charitable institutions that, but there are others who for higher elevation of life or promotion to higher planets within the universe voluntarily accepts many kinds of austerities such as Chandrayam and Chaturmasya. Anyway, there are other sacrifices. Many follow that in India, Chaturmasya. Prabhupada was not really strict about it, but indicated we should also follow. Therefore, the first month of Chaturmasya, we don't eat green leaves, spinach, and so on. Then next month, I think, no milk and so on. That but there are still others who engage themselves in different kinds of mystic yogis, like the Patanjali system, or Hatha Yoga, or Ashtanga Yoga. And some travel to all sanctified places of pilgrimage. You see that still in India, that young people, and they travel just for all places of pilgrimage. All these practices are called yoga jagya, sacrifice for a certain type of perfection in the material world. So these are, at the end, all these yogis are faithfully engaged in different types of sacrifice and are seeking a higher status of life. Krishna consciousness, however, is different from these because it is a direct service to the Lord. Krishna consciousness cannot be attained by any of the above type sacrifices, but can be attained only by the mercy of the Lord and his bona fide devotees. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is transcendental. But Krishna consciousness cannot be attained by any of these things. Although we do also pilgrimage, Vachamangal Parakram. I did it three times. The first time complete 30 days. And you see all the 12 forests where Krishna was and where the pastime took place, and you hear the pastimes. It's very nourishing, because later you read Krishna book and you remember, oh, I was there. Yes, that's very nourishing. But that is within the practice of Krishna consciousness. That's yeah. Okay. Then 29, pranayam, pressing the nose. First, the left side. And then you in the right nostril, and you keep in your breath as long as you can. And then other hand comes out. Yeah. And then you have to wait as long as possible before going back to pressing the nose, Prabhupada says. Pranayam. Okay, we will see what Krishna says about it. Apani chubati pranam, prani pranam tataparem, panapana kati utva pranayama parayana, apareniyatahara pranam pranesha jivati. Still others are inclined to the pose of breath restraint, to remain in trance, practiced by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming, and the incoming breath into the outgoing. Thus, at last, remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. Purport. All of these processes are recommended for controlling the senses and for advancement in spiritual realization. Further, the Krishna conscious person, however, being always situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, automatically becomes a controller of the senses. His senses, being always engaged in the service of the Lord, have no chance of becoming engaged otherwise. So at the end of life, he is naturally transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. Subsequently, he makes no attempt to increase his longevity. Further, the practice of reduced eating is ultimately done when one eats only Krishna prasadam, or food which is offered first to the Lord. Reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. In Nectar of Devotion, he said, yes, one can eat prasadam, but one should not eat too much. You still will not be able to control your senses. Krishna constantly is reducing the eating as much as needed. That just what you need, not more. Your quota, we heard in Isavasya principles, your quota. What's your quota? That Ayurveda said what you can keep in your 2 hands. That's the contents of your stomach. And that you can eat in one time. If you eat more, it will not completely digest and it will cause poison in your system. And that poison will get its way in different places and causes disease. And what Prabhupada says, eat in one time what you can digest, what you can hold in your 2 hands. You can eat in the morning 60%, at noontime 80–90%, and in the evening 10%. Don't eat much in the evening. You get problems in the night. That I assure you. That so we have to be carefully to follow these instructions. That to balance our eating. That's so. That's 39. Yeah, longevity. Yeah, I read this. A Krishna conscious person at the end of life is transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. Consequently, he makes no attempt to increase his longevity. Now, the results of sacrifices 30. Sarva Bhiti Chakyo Vido Chakya Pshapata Kalmasam Chakya Sistamrita Bhuja Yanti Brahma Sanatanam. All these performers know the meaning of sacrifice, become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifice, they advance towards the supreme, eternal atmosphere. Srila Prabhupada in the purport. So there are different types of sacrifice. But the common aim of all is to control the senses. Sense gratification is the cause of material existence. At the end, all the above-mentioned sacrifices help one to become cleansed of the sinful reactions of material existence. By this advancement in life, not only does one become happy and opulent in this life, but also at the end, he enters into the eternal kingdom of God by merging into the impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of God. So Krishna is said before, ye yatamam pabachante tam sute bhajamyam mama vartmana vartnante. Yeah. So everyone is on my path and I reciprocate accordingly. So, but all these paths are described here and they have different goals, that intermediate goals. But those who follow these paths take it as definite goals, but they are not. They are just intermediate. Then they have to go to the next stage. But they don't do that. That's a problem. But Krishna rewards them accordingly to what they want to achieve. That yes. So that is what I just read in the purport here. 31. Happiness as a result of sacrifice in this life and the next. Nyamlako staya hyasna kutunyako sutama. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily in this life or in the next. Purport. In other words, existence in the material world is due to multiple reactions to our sinful lives. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life. A sinful life is the cause of one's dragging on in material existence. By performance of jhaya, we have enough food, enough milk, etc. Even there is a so-called increase of population. The highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. Perfection is achieved by performance of jhaya. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to the spiritual planets by practice of Krishna consciousness. The life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all problems of material existence. That, yes. 32. Evam Bharovidashakya Fitata Vamanomuke Kamajan Viditam Sarvam Evakyatva Vimokshate. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. So because men are so deeply absorbed in the body concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimate bringing about liberation from the body. 33. The purpose of all sacrifices. Chandravamaya Chakya Jnana Chakya Parantapa Sarvan Karma Kilam Bhakta Jnani Parisamapyate. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than a mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Prita, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So that's from the purpose. The purpose of all sacrifices to arrive to the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from all material miseries, and ultimately to engage in loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna consciousness. Real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness. So Jnana Kanda is higher than Karma Kanda. It is better that the end is knowledge. And in the next, it culminates in knowledge. Now, in the next verse, next section, Prabhupada will give the final solution. Lord Krishna gives the solution, the best solution. You accept the spiritual master. Why does he describe all these sacrifices? He could have said, just accept the spiritual master. But Krishna is concerned with those who don't accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but as Brahman, or Paramatma, is concerned with all, and he wants all to come to the point of taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and perform bhakti. That's the point. Now, in having explained all these sacrifices, how they lead to transcendental knowledge, Krishna now describes aspects of transcendental knowledge. To attain transcendental knowledge, one must control the senses, be submissively, and approach the spiritual master and serve him. Then one will become free from reactions and understand his relationship with Krishna. And so Krishna urges Arjuna, you fight based on this transcendental knowledge. Because Krishna is the guru of Arjuna. So now we come at that last section. Before we go, a few reflections. So which of the before mentioned sacrifices are practiced by devotees? We heard a few of them for sure, that the brahmacharis, controlling their senses, studying the grihasthas, are to engage their senses in the service of the Lord, control their senses, and give charity, that, but we have also heard about the impersonalist practice and so on. That's not directly for us. But what is the knowledge behind their practice? That's the question. That we, as devotees, we have full knowledge of, we have the full picture. They don't have a partial picture. We see they have some pieces of the puzzle, but not a complete picture. That's to get a complete picture, you must know who Krishna is, who we are, what our relationship is, and these 5 subjects of Bhagavad Gita. How Krishna relates Ishvara, how he relates with Prakriti, how he controls Kala, how he controls our work and keep the reactions of our work. So this is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. And if we have that full picture of knowledge, in the 13th chapter, Krishna will say, based on this knowledge, you can liberate yourself. So that's required to have the full picture. Yeah. So what practical lessons can I learn from this? I would say you can think about it, but certainly our life should be one of sacrifice. And the most elevated sacrifice is Harinam Sankirtan. That's the sacrifice for this age. But now the direct process, this is all indirect processes of sacrifice. To come to the point of knowledge, factually I'm a servant of Krishna. Yeah. So this is the last part. Approaching a bona fide spiritual master. What happens when we are approaching? Then we are on the boat of transcendental knowledge. And this transcendental knowledge burns off karma. And then the conclusion. This is the mature fruit of all mysticism. Yet, that's the process. Having explained that all sacrifices lead to transcendental knowledge, Krishna now describes various aspects of transcendental knowledge. To attain transcendental knowledge, one must control the senses. Interesting. And submissively approach a spiritual master to render faithful and serve to him. So to attain transcendental knowledge, one must control the senses. Did you learn in school how to control your senses? The basic school? No? That's the first thing you must learn, Krishna says. Brahmachari, brahmacharini. Learn to control your senses. And then you can cultivate good character. Yes?
It was the previous picture. It was about what is mysterious.
What is?
What is mysterious? It looks very direct, very focusing, practical. Nevertheless, we're speaking about the mystery. Where is the mystery lies?
The mystery.
Transcendental knowledge?
Yeah, it is rahasya. It is secret knowledge. The mystery lies in how you get it. It's not just by study the book you get it. The process to get transcendental knowledge is a mystery, and that mystery is now explained in text 34. That's the mystery. If one does not follow that process, he will not get the knowledge. It's not a scholarly endeavor. It's given to the heart. That Krishna gives realization to the heart when you serve him. 34. Tatvinapana Parikashna Sevya Protekshantejanam Jnanas Tatvadarshan. I think you know all this verse, yes. Try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render your service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. This and the next, especially this and the next one, are important purpose. That in the purpose. No one can become a bona fide spiritual master without following the principle of disciplic succession as a first thing. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process as his passion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam says, Dharmam tu saksa bhagavat praninam, the path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant, without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. I repeat, satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Unless there is submission and service inquiries from the spiritual master, it will not be effective. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So, yes, that's... Now, this is the mystical thing is happening in 35. That's what happens. Chatvatana Pramam Evanyasipon Evayena Butinashesani Dakshasya Atomai. Yeah, Chatvatvana Pramam Evanyasipon Evan Yena Bhutana Asheshani Dakshasya Atomai. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living entities are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. You see the soul in everyone's heart. You start to see not the bodies, but the soul. And you see the soul's relationship with Krishna, of everyone. That's becoming Krishna consciousness. That's developing the vision of an Uttam Adhikar. The transcendental knowledge means that every part of Krishna, every living entity is an eternal servant of Krishna. And it cannot be separated from Krishna. Krishna is in their heart, cannot be separated. And that if we think we are something else than the servant of Krishna, that is the definition of Maya. Because Mayavadis, they think Krishna loses his separate existence when he expands into the living entities. They fail to understand that absolute means that 1 + 1 = 1 and -1 = 1. So that is transcendental mathematics. They don't understand. By that they don't understand Krishna's position. Some think that Krishna is a great historical personality and that the absolute is the impersonal Brahman. Factually, Brahman is Krishna's effulgence, as he is the supreme person. So this is explained in the purport. I read a few of lines of the purport. The result of receiving knowledge from a realized soul, or one who knows things as they are, is learning that all living entities are part and parcels of the Supreme. That The sense of existence separate from Krishna is Maya. Practically, as is stated in Bhagavad Gita, the impersonal Brahman is the personal effulgence of Krishna. So we have experienced in the material world that a thing, when fragmentally distributed, loses its original identity. But the Mayavadi philosophers fail to understand that the absolute minus that 1 plus 1 is equal to 1, and that minus 1 is equal to 1. This is the case in the absolute world. So you give away Krishna consciousness to others, and you get it. Mystical. Krishna gives you the realization, and when you preach. Although we are separated, parts of Krishna, we are nevertheless not different from him on quality. The body difference of the living entity is Maya, not an actual fact. The whole teaching of the Gita is targeted towards this end, that a living being, as Krishna's eternal servitor, cannot be separated from Krishna. And his sense of being an identity apart from Krishna is called Maya. But one who is engaged in transcendental service to Krishna consciousness, one becomes at once liberated from this illusion. One can acquire such pure knowledge only from the bona fide spiritual master, and therefore avoid the delusion that the living entity is equal to Krishna. Perfect knowledge is that the Supreme Soul, Krishna, is a supreme shelter for all living entities. In giving up this shelter, the living entities are deluded by the material energy, imagining themselves to have a separate identity. So liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position as the eternal servitor of Krishna. That's Krishna consciousness. So that's the first thing that happens. You accept the spiritual master, follow his instructions, you serve him and with humility, and you start to see spiritually. And then you come on the boat. On the boat. Here is the boat. That's yes. The power of knowledge. So, Apsatas Pabios of Guru Papakitaman, Savagana Plaped, Nivapichnam Santarishis. Even if you are considered to be the most simple of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendent knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of material miseries. So, perfect knowledge received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the path of liberation. The boat of Krishna consciousness is very simple, but at the same time, the most sublime. So we must get on this boat. To get on this boat, I said last time you have to do 4 things. What are these 4 things back up you?
We attend the Bhagavad class every day. We chant 16 rounds, we render service, and follow the
Yes. If you miss one of these 4 things, one day you are in danger of falling off the boat. Stay on the boat, doing these 4 things every day, and you stay on the boat. And what happens when you stay on the boat? 37. Shadai darsha samidukne bhasmasakarutarana shaknarni sarvakarmani bhasmasakarute tata. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. The fire not only burns up all reactions to impious activities, but also the reactions of pious activities, turning them to ashes. There are many stages of reaction: reaction in the making, reaction fructifying, reaction already achieved, and a reaction a priori. But knowledge of the constitutional position of the living entity burns everything to ashes. You will also learn that in Nectar of Devotion, the 4 stages of sinful reaction, and that of Papa, that there's Kuta, the inclination, then the bija, the sin, then, and then, yeah, that's the papam, and then you get parabda. So it's like someone on a Saturday evening is getting drunk, and the next day he gets a hangover. He gets the reaction, the direct reaction. That so it does the papam, and then he gets the parabda karma, direct reaction. But he's thinking, yes, yesterday I had a good time. So after the sickness is over, the kutam comes, the desire to do it again. And it turns into a bija, a seed. Yes, I will do it. He plans to do it. And he does the papam again. And he comes again sick. And he gets again this prabdha karma. But there is also aparabdha karma. Because if he continues drinking like this, his liver will be spoiled and he will die from that. That's aparabdha karma. So these 4 kinds of karma are burnt. It is at all karmas. Even punya karma are destroyed by Brahma Vidya, by the fire of realization of one's own Atma and Paramatma. Baladev Vidya Bhushan said, all karma is burnt. So we need to understand that process. You accept the spiritual master, you follow the instructions, you create Krishna conscious vision, you come on the boat, and then your karma starts to be destroyed. Anartha nivritti. Okay? It's not that I'm accepting initiation for a spiritual master and there's a fire sacrifice, and that during the fire sacrifice the guru takes all my karma. It doesn't work like that. It would be nice. It takes all my karma. The Guru Maharaj, if I need you again, I will let you know. No, it's a process. The spiritual master will take the karma through the Guru Parampara if you follow his instructions. Initiation is the beginning. You follow his instructions, you come on the boat, and then you become purified. That does not mean that the initiation itself is not purifying. You will feel the effect. But it's not that the Guru takes all your karma at once during the fire sacrifice. No. It comes when we get, it gives us, we sing it every morning. Divya Gyan Hriday Pokasito. The Guru gives us Divya Gyan, transcendental knowledge, and that burns all reactions in the heart, that manifest in the heart. So that's our process. Good. Then Krishna concludes, Yadaidam Samidoch Nir, Pashmatsa Kotayana Sanaknir Sarva Karmani, Pashmasa Kote Tata. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So, in the purport, this fire not only burns all reactions to impious activities, but also the reactions to pious activities. Yeah, that's what we read. But now, 38, sorry. Naihyanene satyu sampavitam yavityate tatsvayam yoga samside kalnatmadi kalinatmani vinnati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. You asked what is mystical about. Krishna says this is the mysticism. And one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. Yeah, that's Krishna Lila in your heart going on. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. This knowledge is a mature fruit of devotional service. When one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he did not search for peace as elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness. That is the last word of the Bhagavad Gita. I have some things to think about, contemplations that do I approach a bona fide spiritual master, inquire from him, and serve his instructions? First question. We are not initiated. That means do I follow Prabhupada's instructions, and do I inquire from all those who are more advanced than me, that in a humble way? If so, do I experience the power of inner peace and vision resulting from realizing this knowledge? If not, why? Lack of patience, not fully surrendered to the instructions of the spiritual master, lack of humility, immature understanding. Yes, inner reflections. But I will send you the whole thing after the class. Yeah, like I did for chapter 1, 2, and 3. And then Krishna concludes here. He speaks about those who have faith and those who have not faith, what they attain. 39. Shadavallabhatekhyanam tatpara samyatandeya Jnanam Dabva param samtim ashinaradigachati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Can someone read the purport?
Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believers who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay.
Thank you. And those who are faithless. Akyasya sadadanasya samsyat vinasati nyamnakosti naparo nasukam samsayatmana. But the ignorant and faithless persons who doubt revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down, for the doubting soul is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. No purpose. Persons who are almost like animals have no faith in knowledge or of the standard revealed scriptures. And some, even though they have knowledge or can cite passages from it, the revealed scriptures have actually no faith in this world. And even though others may have faith in the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, they do not believe in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They fall down. Doubtful persons have no status whatsoever in spiritual emancipation. So Krishna gives two possibilities. You have faith or you are faithless. Qualified or disqualified. That faith in the scriptures, no faith in the scriptures. Fixed in the practice, controlling the senses when you have faith. Disqualified is doubtful. So the devotee who has faith attains knowledge and liberation. And the others, what do they attain? No happiness, not in this life, not in the next. So qualified or disqualified for knowledge. Important. 41, 42. To become situated in the self by means of superior jnana, Krishna consciousness. 41. Yogi sanyasya karmanam jnana sanchinya samsayam atmavantam na karmani nibbannam edananja. When you act in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus is not bound by the actions of worth or comfort of riches. That yeah. So different results here. That so the result is stopping all karmic reactions. 42. But then Tasma jnana sambhutam ritstam jnana syatvam chitvanam samsyam rogam atistatista bharata. Therefore, the doubts which has arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge, armed with knowledge, O Bharat, fight. So, purport. The yoga instructed in this chapter is called Sanatana Yoga, or eternal activities performed by the living entity. If sacrifice of one's material possessions is not dovetailed in spiritual realization, then such sacrifice becomes material. So Prabhupada gives a summary in the purport of the chapter. When we come to spiritual activities, we find that we are also divided in two, namely understanding of one's own self and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who does not understand the instructions of the Gita is faithless and is to be considered misusing the fragmental independence awarded to him by the Lord. Ignorance can be removed by gradual acceptance of the principles of Krishna consciousness. Further, but within all these activities, the important factor is self-realization. One who seeks that objective is the real student of Bhagavad Gita. So who is a real student of Bhagavad Gita? One who strives for self-realization. But one who doubts the authority of Krishna falls back. And therefore, it's advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under a bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. The Lord is definitely the Supreme Person, and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is a liberated person from the beginning of the study of the Bhagavad Gita. One whose the Lord is the Supreme Person, and his activities are transcendental. So we have here. So Krishna urges Arjuna to arm himself with transcendental knowledge and fight. Act based on this knowledge as a servant of Krishna. So the conclusion: sacrifices are based on regulated action and are meant to awaken Krishna consciousness. Sacrifice is spiritual if performed with a spiritual objective, which requires knowledge of one's own self and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Are we at the end? Is in the yoga and others. Yeah. The yoga system overview. So Karma Kanda, that's religion for sense gratification. That's not a yoga system. That's not yoga. Yoga means connection with God. There must be connection with Brahman, with Paramatma, or Bhagavan to be a yoga system. So that's not a yoga system. It's called Karma Kanda. Then you have Karma Yoga. It's been described here. Jnana Yoga in chapter 4 and 5. And Jnana Yoga we will learn in chapter 6, Yoga of meditation this evening. But it's the idea that we go up to these yogas and finally come to Bhakti Yoga. And a question could be for your essays, explain the yoga ladder, how one comes from one to the other. One performs Karma Kanda. How does one go from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga?
The connection to something to go.
Yeah, well, what's the impetus? Why should one performs Karma Kanda for many lifetimes? Why should they go to Karma Yoga?
It's a different thing. Yoga is not under it's Karma Yoga.
Yeah, it's a different aim, but it's a ladder. You go from one sport of the ladder to the next. What makes you go to the next one? What makes you go to the next one? What's the impetus? What's the motivation to go to the next? Yeah. Yeah, but why should they go to the next? Please. Yes. Yeah, they go up to the heavenly planets, come back and do that many times. And after many times, a few millions of times, they think, I'm only going up and down. Why am I going up and down? There's no satisfaction in it. So I'm frustrated. I'm not going to try to go to the heavens. And then it comes to Karma Yoga. I'm going to work without being attached to the result. Krishna is not in the picture. Just in the Varnashram or doing that. That's Karma Yoga. And then one does Karma Yoga. How does one go from Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga? What's the motivation? After doing that Karma Yoga for a long time. That's yeah. The point here is they do Karma Yoga and they start to become a little purified. And then ping, the question comes, who am I? Who am I? Am I this body? This is my hand, who am I? This is my head, who am I? Some knowledge comes in their dull brains that who am I? So then they go to the next yoga, Jnana Yoga, trying to understand the difference between matter and spirit. And they study Vedanta, and they come to the conclusion I'm Brahman, and they are studying that. And why should they then go to Ashtanga Yoga? Yeah.
Die actually to merge with the absolute doesn't make sense, and they realize it's boring. They want to do something actually.
Yeah, but that is a possibility, but I would put it in much more simple words. That they are performing the Jnana Yoga, the difference between matter and spirit. And then they come to the point, I'm Brahman. They are convinced. I'm Brahman. I want to experience being a spirit soul. And then they go to Astanga Yoga to have the experience. And then the Astanga Yoga, what happens with him? That usually that doesn't happen. The Paramatma, the yogis, they get mystic power, and that's it. And with their mystic power, they can go to any planet they want and control things. But some yogis, very exceptional, they get Paramatma realization, Krishna in the heart. And what's the result of their Paramatma realization? Not yet. That's very rare. They understand Paramatma is controlling material nature. And what's the result of that understanding? Nothing, they remain in the material world. But some of them, very rare, they ask the question, what is this Paramatma? And they come to the conclusion this Paramatma is an expansion of Krishna. And then they become devotees. Then they go from Paramatma realization to Bhakti Yoga. So what does Krishna say? Sarvadam Prachya Mam Kam Sarvadam Prachya Mam Kam Saram Bhajan. He said, give up all these yogas. Take directly the lift to Bhakti Yoga. Don't get into these things. So I repeat, Karma Kanda, they become frustrated going up and down, and they don't want to do it anymore. That it doesn't lead to anything, always going up and down, and they become sick from sense enjoyment also. And then they give up that practice and start to do karma yoga, selfless service. And they become a little purified, and they come to the point, who am I? And then they come to find that out. They want to find out the difference between matter and spirit. Who am I? And they study Vedanta. They become jnanis. And what is the conclusions of their study? The conclusion of their study, I'm Brahman, I'm spirit. And then they want to experience being spiritual. Then they go to Astanga Yoga to experience that. Patanjali Yoga and so on. And then if they are lucky, some of them will come to the realization of Paramatma in the heart. And then when they ask the question, who is this Paramatma? They understand it's an expansion of Krishna. And then they become devotees. So that's the yoga system overview. Yes?
Can you word it? Karma yoga, it is not necessary to come to Brahman, to Brahman. It's necessary.
You chant Hare Krishna and you get Brahman realization, that's liberation. Paramatma realization, that's Ashakti. And then you become a pure devotee. You develop love for Krishna. So this is not for devotees.
So Brahman is not necessary.
Yeah. But we go to these stages, and this automatically we go to these stages. But for us, the study of these stages is also interesting because there are many things we can use in devotional service that helps us to advance. Control of the senses and so on. That there's very similar. The Astanga Yoga, Yam, Niyam, things to do, things not to do. Nectar of instruction is the first thing we learn, things to do and not to do. That's, yeah. Anyway, this is the yoga ladder. Everything clear?
And you just mentioned about Brahman realization is when you are liberated, and
Yeah.
what stage is it in the mind? What stage is it?
Nishta.
And Bhagavan?
Bhagavan realization is prema. And Paramatma is our Shakti. There are stages from Shraddha to prema. Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, Bhajna Kriya. You learn the process. You give up your offenses, anartha nivritti. The heart becomes purified, it's completely purified, you are liberated. Nishta. And then, by Krishna's mercy, it happens further in some lifetime. Good. So here you find the verses where Krishna speaks about these yogas. That's the links between the yoga processes. Because Krishna tells Arjuna about karma kanda, but then he says, give it up, become transcendental through knowledge to Gyan. Anyway, the links, these are the key memorization verses. I don't know if you have the same.
Yeah.
4 of them in this. Yeah. Okay. Any other thing? We have still 5 minutes.
When Venus Karma Kanda is when he said to Krishna that he fulfilled Mahu, and I should think the word of how can I enjoy alone.
I don't understand. You have to speak louder and clearer.
So how can I enjoy alone?
Oh,
Some stage of he goes
Yeah.
also.
yeah. When Arjuna says, I will not be able to go to heaven, that going to heaven is karma kanda. And I will not be able to enjoy an earthly kingdom. That is karma kanda. That's by following his prescribed duties, he gets the enjoyment. But Krishna says, give it up. Don't do it for that. Do it to please me, without being attached to the result. And that's better. Yes.
So we spoke about brahmacharya should be around a spiritual master. Generally, especially in Europe, it's very few places that there is actually a spiritual master situated in brahmacharya. How can we, how is there?
In ISKCON, the spiritual master is a representative of Prabhupada. And we don't take shelter just of our spiritual master, but everyone who is representative of Prabhupada and who is more advanced than us. So you should learn to take shelter of everyone more advanced than you, not only your spiritual masters. The others are also your spiritual masters. Srila Prabhupada says, well, Lord Krishna says, Acharyam Abhijanyam, whether Shiksha or Diksha Guru, they are equally dear to me. Making a difference between them is committing Vaishnava aparat. Should very clearly put that in our brains, that we never forget that. They are equal representatives. That our line of disciplic succession and keeps together through Shiksha. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yes.
In our question, maybe there's a one question, and it's concerning verse Bhagavad Gita 2:54, and there's the question of the meaning of the word pragya, but I could not read it out with the original translation.
Yeah, I don't know. I need very specific and clear information to answer the question. Yeah. things are clear, I can answer.
I mean, it's in the verse 254.
Yeah. 254. Stita Pahya Shikabasa Samadhista Sakeshava Stita de Kim Prabhashita Kim Ashita Vacheta Kim. Arjun, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of those whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk? What is the word?
Pragya.
Pragya. Pragya. Stita pragyasya. There is no pragya, there is stita pragyasya. Stita pragyasya means one who is situated or fixed in consciousness, a person who is completely fixed in Krishna consciousness, does not deviate. A fully Krishna consciousness. Stita pragya. Stita pragya. That is the question he asked. But what are the symptoms of a stita pragya, one who is firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness? Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.